Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
I'm writing this from a sterile, almost painfully clean apartment miles from where it happened. My hands still shake when I pick up a duster, and the sight of a cluttered desk can send a cold shiver down my spine. I used to be a neat person, a lover of order. Not anymore. Now, order feels like an invitation for something unspeakable. It started when my great-aunt Aurora passed away. She was a sweet, eccentric woman, and I was her only living relative. Her house, nestled deep in a secluded part of rural Vermont, was left to me. My friend Alana Judge, who knew Aunt Aurora better than I did, warned me, her house is a project, Ramai. She wasn't wrong. Aunt Aurora wasn't a hoarder in the conventional sense, no rotting food or animal waste, but she was a collector of everything. Every trinket, every newspaper clipping, every broken chair, every half-finished craft project had a place, even if that place was buried under 5 other things. I decided to take a month off work to tackle it. Sell off what I could, donate the rest, and finally put the place on the market. It was a beautiful old Victorian, full of character beneath the layers of accumulated existence. I saw it as a therapeutic task, a way to process grief and perhaps find some buried treasures. I arrived in late spring, the surrounding woods a vibrant, almost aggressive green, and the house itself felt like a dusty, sleeping giant. My first target was the study. Aunt Aurora had been a history enthusiast, and her study was a dense jungle of books, maps, and artifacts. It was overwhelming. But amidst the towering, leaning stacks of dusty tomes and papers, I found something peculiar. Tucked away on a high shelf behind a pile of old National Geographics was a small, perfectly square wooden box. It was pristine, lacquered, unlike anything else in the room. Inside, meticulously arranged on velvet, were shards of broken ceramic, rusted clock gears, jagged pieces of green glass, and twisted, ancient-looking nails. Each piece was sharp, inorganic, and presented as if it were a jewel. It felt wrong, an oasis of sharp, twisted order in a desert of soft chaos. I closed the box quickly, a prickle of unease running up my neck. That night, I started hearing things. Soft thuds like books settling, whispers almost subliminal like dry leaves rustling in a breeze. I dismissed it as an old house groaning, jet lag, my imagination running wild. The next day I began in earnest. I cleared a section of a bookshelf, wiped it down, and arranged a few heirloom novels. I felt a sense of accomplishment. The next morning the novels were scattered across the floor, and a fresh layer of dust seemed to have bloomed on the shelf, even coating the books themselves. I blamed myself, maybe I hadn't stacked them right, maybe the draft. But it escalated. I carefully bag up old clothes from a closet, only to find them strewn across the bedroom floor an hour later, sometimes in subtly different piles than before, like an unseen hand had resorted them. Dust I swept from the floor would reappear, not in new spots, but right where I'd just swept, as if it had simply waited for me to turn my back. One evening, after I'd spent hours clearing a path through the main hallway, I heard a distinct thud drag from the far end. I froze, nothing. When I went to investigate, a small antique rug I had just folded and placed neatly by the front door was back in the middle of the hall, slightly askew, as if someone had just tripped over it. I called Alana, trying to make it sound like an amusing anecdote. "This house is fighting me, Alana," I chuckled, though my voice trembled a little. She laughed. "Sounds like Aurora's spirit. She always loved her clutter." The line crackled, then cut out. I tried again, nothing. The isolation of the place started to press in. I started seeing things in my peripheral vision. Shadows that seemed too solid, too quick. When I turned, nothing, just the unending piles of Aunt Aurora's life. But the study, that room with the strange box, became a focal point of dread. Whenever I walked past, I felt a heavy, oppressive stillness, as if the air itself was holding its breath. One afternoon, I walked into the study, intending to start sorting through some old photo albums. As I reached for a stack, a low, guttural whisper slithered from the corner, sounding like rustling paper and dry bones. "Don't tidy me." I froze, my hand hovering over the dusty albums. The air grew cold, not just a draft, but an icy chill that seeped into my bones. My heart hammered against my ribs. I backed out of the room slowly, eyes wide, not daring to turn my back on the shadowed stacks. The final straw came a few days later. I decided I had to clean the study. I had to confront whatever was in there. I started with the strange, lacquered box, thinking if I removed that unsettling bit of order, perhaps the room would calm. I carried it out to the living room, intending to take it to my car. As I set it down on the cleared coffee table, the lights in the entire house began to flicker erratically. Not just dimming, but flashing violently, like a strobe light. In the flashes, the walls of the living room seemed to twist, the patterns on the wallpaper rippling, growing, shrinking. The furniture distorted, becoming elongated and menacing. The piles of books and papers in the adjacent study seemed to swell, pushing out, filling the doorway, forming a dark, amorphous shape that loomed there. Then I saw it in the antique mirror above the mantelpiece. My own reflection was there, but behind me, emerging from the chaotic swell of the study, was a figure. It wasn't human. It was made of darkness and jagged edges like a negative space carved from the clutter itself, its form shifting with every light flicker. Where its face should have been, there was only a swirling vortex of shadows and distorted reflections of the chaotic room. It moved towards my reflection, not me, its form elongating, its sharp, unseen edges scraping against the fabric of the room. I felt a searing pain behind my eyes, a mental scream that echoed, leave it all. I am the order. I am the chaos. I didn't grab anything. I didn't even pick up the strange box. I ran. I threw myself out the front door, not even bothering to lock it, scrambling into my car. My hands fumbled with the keys, shaking so badly I dropped them. I heard a soft click from inside the house, like a door slowly closing. Panic seized me. I retrieved the keys, jammed them into the ignition, and sped down the long, winding driveway without looking back. The whole way, I felt a prickling sensation on my skin, as if 1,000 unseen eyes were watching me from the rearview mirror, judging my flight from their perfect disarray. I haven't been back. I forfeited the house. I told the lawyer it was too much work, too far. They never asked why I didn't want any of Aunt Aurora's things. They just accepted it. But sometimes when I'm trying to organize my own small apartment, a single rusty clock gear will appear on my perfectly neat desk. Or a small, jagged piece of green glass will turn up in the bottom of my laundry basket. I throw them away, of course, but they always come back. I think a piece of that dreadful, uncleanable house, or the entity that defines it, might have followed me home. Now when I see a messy room, I don't feel the urge to clean it. I feel an intense, overwhelming fear, because I know that some things, some places, some chaos are best left undisturbed. I don't know if it's truly gone or if it's just waiting for me to try and tidy up one more time. Sometimes I hear the rustling in my own quiet apartment and I just leave the mess.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.